Matt Drudge warns there is a crisis on many fronts. I suspect there is sabotage. Top news reporter Matt Drudge crashed the Michael Savage show this weekend to discuss the state of affairs in Washington, D.C. Drudge recently tweeted his discontent with the Republican Party, going so far to say that Republicans lied about tax cuts and that he wants his vote back. Matt Drudge just said he wants his vote back for Trump, if I'm correct on where he's going with this. On the Michael Savage show, Drudge doubled down on his frustrations. I do think there is a crisis on many fronts. Is some of it of his own making. You don't think Congress is deliberately sabotaging, because I suspect there is sabotage. Do you know Obama had the stimulus package on his desk before Inauguration Day? What did this Congress give this great man? Nothing. What Trump got was a half-baked health care bill that was probably worse than Obamacare, an executive order that was overturned by just about every court that touched it, and nothing in the way of promised tax cuts. Not only is President Trump being attacked from the left, it should be clear that the Never-Trumpers are still operating as Catherine Austin Fitts recently warned, the deep state will continue to attack him and take down his lieutenants at every opportunity. Now, of course, we're still weighing our options right now to see exactly where Trump is going, because there's a massive crisis coming here. The government could partially shut down at the end of this month. Will Congress celebrate Trump's 100th day in office with a government shutdown? Now, hang on here. Before we all get wound up, let's put it that way. We were very close to a full-on government shutdown in 2013. And you know what? It kept the Congress, the news, they kept everybody on their seats. On the very edge of I saw so many people, so many posts and things that I'm cleaning my guns, getting ready for the government shutdown. I spent all my money because of the government shutdown. I did this. Listen right now. Don't fall for the fear. If the government shuts down, it shuts down. You don't need to fall for the fear of it. And that's like, well, I can see the comments, some of the drop jaws. But this is the moment we've been waiting for. We've been preparing for it. Do you know that? Do you know that for a fact? No, you do not. Neither do I. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to report without the fear factor of it. Look, there's a possibility. It's not a probability, it's a possibility. Now, if we wanted to turn it into a probability, have a look at what's gone on recently within our own government. We have supposedly the best man ever in the White House who has still not gotten anything done. You have the Republican Party who's attacking him. You have the left who is still attacking him. And of course, nothing is being accomplished. We could not repeal Obamacare. We could not ban or do the travel ban. And of course, this spending bill. Here, let me read this part. Here's what would happen during a government shutdown. Fresh off the implosion of the healthcare bill, Washington and the markets are staring at another major potential disruption, a government shutdown in late April. Federal government operations are funded through April 28th. And without a new spending bill, a partial shutdown would ensue for the first time since 2013. The key here is the word partial. Many federal employees would be furloughed, but others, FBI agents and air traffic controllers, for example, would stay on the job. National parks would shutter, but the U.S. mail would keep coming. This situation, that was the situation from October 1st to the 16th of 2013, the last time the federal government partially shut down. That shutdown battle was over the Affordable Care Act. Times have changed so much. Washington flirted with the shutdown in September 2015 over funding for Planned Parenthood and again in December 2016 over minors' health care benefits. But last-minute deals kept the government open. There are some signs that Republican leaders want to head off a shutdown next month. Leaders signaled Tuesday that they were likely to exclude the most contentious provisions from legislation needed to keep the government running past April. Excuse me. The Wall Street Journal reported it cited House Speaker Paul Ryan suggesting the House wouldn't try to strip funding from Planned Parenthood, and Senator Roy Blunt suggesting that the April spending bill would likely exclude President Donald Trump's request to start construction of a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border and to boost military spending. Blunt is a member of the Senate GOP leadership. But what if leaders' plans don't pan out? In addition to not being able to get into Yellowstone or the National Zoo, Callers should not expect to get a quick answer if they dial a federal agency. During the 2013 shutdown, about 850,000 federal employees were furloughed immediately after funding ran out. However, most civilian employees at the Pentagon went back to work after a week, and more than 8,000 workers at the Social Security Administration were also recalled. Now, who knows what's going to take place on April 28th? Who knows what's going to happen by then? Could we be looking at one? It is a possibility, but still pay your bills. Yes, you heard that correctly. It's a possibility, but you need to pay your bills. You have a family to feed, so on and so forth. You need to take care of that. Because how many times have we been pulled along by the government's strings or by mainstream media's strings, and then, of course, we fell into the fear, and there it was. We were stuck in a bad spot. So before we all jump the gun on this one, let's see how it's going to play out first. We know about it. We're aware of the situation at hand. There is a potential possibility that the government could partially shut down. We'll see what happens. We're going to go into the next article here. This is by Michael Snyder. Thousands of Americans are fleeing the big cities in preparation for the coming American apocalypse. Why are so many people suddenly moving away from major U.S. cities? Recently, I wrote about the mass exodus that is happening out of the state of California. But the truth is that what is happening there is just part of a national phenomenon. The populations of some of our largest cities are steadily shrinking, and many experts are completely mystified by the seismic demographic shifts that we are now witnessing. Of course, there are a whole host of reasons why people would want to move away from huge cities such as Chicago, Detroit, Baltimore, and Cleveland. For some families, it simply comes down to wanting a better life for their children. But as you will see below, there are others that believe that things in this country are about to take an apocalyptic turn. And the big cities will not be a place that you want to be when economic collapse, rioting, looting, civil unrest, and crime are all spiraling out of control. Now, we've known for a long time you do not want to be in these cities. These cities are, of course, a plan of the New World Order, these massive megacities. You shouldn't be attempting to live in them. If you are in one already, do what you can. Now, Snyder is referencing Cook County as one of his sources for this, so I'm going to read you that one. Cook County alone had a domestic migration, loss of more than 66,000 people. That is a staggering number of people to lose in a single year. That's incredible. Cleveland and Milwaukee were also very high on the list, and some are pointing out that all of these cities are in relatively colder climates and are all struggling economically. So you certainly can't blame people living in these cities for wanting to find somewhere warmer and more economically prosperous to live. But others that are moving away from large cities are deeply concerned about where things are ultimately headed in this country. It doesn't take a genius to see that anger, frustration, and hatred are rising all around us, and many believe that conditions are ripe for civil unrest and civil conflict. In fact, best-selling author Doug Casey believes that we could soon see a civil war that is set off by a financial collapse. Best-selling author Doug Casey wrote Crisis Investigating. At the time, when the U.S. political landscape was transitioning from the Carter administration to the Reagan administration, now Casey sees a coming crisis that is equal or worse than the Civil War. Casey explains, in the U.S. right now, there seems to be so much antagonism. It's almost like a pre-Civil War. Now, we've talked about this antagonism before. We've talked about it in the sense of a multipolar world where the antagonism between countries is going to lead to war. Now, of course, there's also antagonism between, well, the left and right and so on and so forth. It's almost like a pre-Civil War, he says. There is actually hatred in the U.S. at this point. It used to be the Republicans and Democrats could disagree, but they would have a civil conversation about a difference of opinion. Now it's active hatred between these two groups. This is not going to end well. And everybody knows this. I mean, we have one group who literally is offended when somebody breathes. I mean, think about this. You have the other group who's just not getting anything done. There is such division right now. It's incredible. Casey thinks the coming financial collapse will be the trigger. Casey says, it's going to come down eventually. I'm worried about that. But we are in a situation where the country seems like it is just before a civil war. It will be more serious than just a financial collapse, and it is likely to be set off by a financial collapse. Now, of course, who knows exactly how it's going to all start, but it's most likely not going to just be one event. As I've said many times before, this is coming in waves. And with each wave, which started several years ago, each wave gets worse. It crashes harder. And of course, it starts to get faster. And we've seen this uptick. We've seen this hard-hitting wave over and over again. And a lot of people misinterpret that for it's about to take place this minute. No, it's coming in waves. And it's very evident. As you just look back a couple years ago, it was a lot slower than it is right now. Things are coming in so fast and everything is just hitting so hard. And it's very evident that things are coming in waves.